to everyone out there, or afternoon or night, wherever you're at. So, one thing that I've been told to do is to start going live when I'm talking to my guides. So, me personally, I talk to my guides almost every morning. Okay. Sometimes I have these dreams where I want more clarity or more information that they can give me. And other times I just want to talk about like certain beliefs that I have going on, or they actually bring up a belief pattern that is ready to be reviewed and let go. But um, my bear called Barry, he's actually a black bear pelt that I got last week, informed me that this is what I should be doing on my YouTube channel. It is a really big part of what I do and kind of who I am. So if you follow me on my TikTok or Instagram, you know I go and do just like quick 1 minute video and give you kind of like a little message, right? In 60 seconds or less. So on this side, um, it's more just showing you kind of like how I get the information that I get, and for you to understand that we all have a group of guides, if you want to call them that. You don't have to. Just know you have a network of people that are not human, that is here to assist you through your lifetime here. Okay? So one of the biggest things that um we all know, right, is that this body here, it dies, right? It's actually the only real part of us that dies after this journey's over. So if you stop and think about this for a second, all right, let's say you're going to go see a movie. And in this movie, you know the ending. You already know what's going to happen, how it's going to end. You would have to ask yourself, why would you go see this movie knowing the end? And the only reason why you would go see a movie knowing the ending, knowing that the main character is going to pass away, is the journey that the main character takes from when they're born, right, till they pass. You're in it for the climaxes, right? It has to keep you interested, so you keep watching this movie. Well, the funny part here is that in our lives, it is very much like a movie. Like I just said, you already know the ending. So, what would keep you getting up every morning doing the same thing if you didn't have anything go wrong, right? And it's not really wrong, but as humans, we see it as wrong. So, perfect example, right? Just imagine that nothing, no problems ever occur to you, right? So, this is how your day would look if no problems ever came to you. You would wake up, you would get ready for work, you would get your kids ready for school, right? You would pack your lunch, brush your teeth, get your clothes on, take showers, all that. Then you would drop off your kids or you would go to work, whatever your routine is. You would do this so many days per week. And it seems like 5 days per week seems to be the legit thing, right? Kids go to school 5 days a week. We go to work 5 days a week. So it's kind of funny how the five keeps coming up. But imagine that nothing ever happened to you, which means you would get up, you would do your routine, you would drive to work, nothing would ever happen to you in the car. Your car would never break down. So you would just drive to work, then you would get off work, right? And then you would go get your kids if you have to, go pick up dinner or go home and make dinner, then go to the routine of your night and then start over. So we do the same day over and over and over and over. And if nothing ever came, no problems ever came, how long could you live like that before you're like, oh my God, this is boring? Right? Like you would be very quick. I mean, I imagine myself probably could only do that for a couple of weeks before I'm like, this is just so boring because nothing would ever change. No excitement would ever come. Okay, here it is, Monday morning, brushing my teeth. All right, getting ready for work, going to work. Nothing happens at work. So if you look at your life where nothing happens, which a lot of people wish for, oh, I wish that just everything would work out. Well, the kicker with that wording, I wish everything would work out, it always is working out for your highest good, okay? The thing with that statement is you don't know what's for your highest good. But if you stop and think about a problem that occurred that you thought, oh, if this fixes this problem, I would be happy. And that solution never came. Instead, it was a different solution, but the different solution was actually what was better for you. It's that statement that you go, oh my God, I'm so glad that worked out that way and not the way I thought it was going to work out, right? Like, how many people say that? Like, I'm so glad that that did not work out the way I planned it because, wow, that would have took much longer, right? So, the ideal here is it's kind of like we just talk, right? We just endlessly talk, but we don't actually stop and listen to what we are actually saying. So when you wish for like nothing ever bad to happen to you, you don't really want that because that would be one of the most boring life you would ever live and there would be no purpose of you living. Plain and simple. There would be no purpose. And it would be very, very boring. So next time something arises, a problem, you want to stop and you want to look at that as, okay, this is for my highest good. This is also part of my story. And I don't have to figure this out. So a bunch of you guys think that you have to figure out every single problem that comes your way. And a lot of you even think you have to figure out other people's problems too. No, you don't. No, that's not what you're here to do. You're not here to figure out any problem. Because if you already know that you're going to die, that's your end of this book here, your bio, then you would have to realize that your book's already written because you already know the ending. Which means if your book, your bio is already written from your soul, then why would you have to figure out anything? And that's where we get stuck a lot is that we think we have to figure this out. So let's give an example. Let's say, oh, this is a good one. Let's say that you get sick, right? You don't expect to get sick, but you get sick. And then all of a sudden you have to take off time from your work and you won't get paid for it. Let's say you don't have vacation time anymore, that you used it, right? So it's at the end of the year and all of a sudden you get really sick where there's no way you can go to work. So then you would lose money, right? You'd be like, oh no, I wasn't expecting to lose that. Like, I need that money. That's how I pay my bills. That's how I get groceries, yada, yada, yada. So then you immediately would go, I have to figure this out. So just remember that you're also sick in this example. So right away, once you realize, oh, there's no way that I can go to work, there's no way. Then you go, oh, if I call off, I don't have any more vacation or sick time. This is going to be 8 hours that I lose, right? immediately your mind would be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Right? Panic mode. So your body is already sick. Then you become panic mode of like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make this 8 hours? Oh my God, this is crazy. So you're doing that on top of being sick. And when you get into that mind game, right? That doesn't actually ever make you feel better. It actually makes you feel worse. So if you picture that you're sick, you need to come up with 8 hours of your job, right? And then now your mind is racing. So it's just cost of everything is just out of whack. So one thing, right? You have to realize that in that moment, or in any moment, you don't actually have to figure out how are you going to make this money. You don't. Okay? All you have to do is you're just going to do what you do. You're going to be sick and you're going to walk through the sickness and help your body. Hold on. Help your body feel better by paying attention to it, right? That's kind of like why the body gets sick, because it just needs some attention. Because again, this body is the only part on the journey, because it's the only part that dies. But we don't give it any attention, really. Most of the time, we're actually bashing our bodies in one way or another. But anyways, going back to that example. Now, you need 8 hours of work, and you need it by next week because, oh my God, what are you going to do? Rent's due, and you're however short, right? So the very first thing is, instead of looking at 8 hours sick, sometimes if you really look at the real reality and do the math, you will realize how much is that you really need. And see, these are things that we don't even look at. For example, I've never looked at how much I get paid in a day. I know what I get paid every 2 weeks, right? When my paycheck goes into my bank account, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I get paid. But I actually did the math, and I realized that in one day, I only make $150. Yeah, $150. So when I look at that, instead of doing that like 8 hours, what am I going to do to get this 8 hours? I look at it as, oh, it's $150. That's way more. It sounds better, right? Both ideals are actually the same. 8 hours is the same to this is how much that is, right? Depending on how much you get paid. But the kicker is 8 hours just sounds really, really more. It sounds really like, oh, instead of okay, $150. And really, $150, depending on how you feel about money, to me, $150 is nothing. It's very little. But the ideal of this here is that you have to tell yourself you don't have to figure this out, right? As the mind's racing, how am I going to come up with this 8 hours or the $150 by next week to pay my rent? You realize that if you actually don't sit there and try to plan this out, the money will come to you in one way or another. And then you wasted all that time being up here worrying and fear. Oh my God. And of course it would be like, oh my God, if I don't pay this to my rent, oh my God, I'm gonna get kicked out. I'll have no place to live. And that's what the mind does. It just creates these fantasies within one little problem, and it blows it up into a huge problem. Now I'm homeless. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to live in my car, all that stuff. Over $150. You could be laughing at that like, wow, that's intense over just a small amount of money. But that's what we do as humans almost every day. We're taking something that's small and we're making it huge. Me personally, in my life, I was always one that had to figure out money. Always. Many, many years ago, I had a Sproul worksheet that told you all my bills, how much comes out, how much I get paid, the whole shebang, guys. I was constantly in my head thinking about money, talking about lack of money, right? So when something came that I was not expecting, like a car repair, then I would go in panic mode. I would be like, "Oh my god, oh my god. Let's hope that this car, you know." And when that used to happen to me, I never went in my mind and said, "Oh, you know what? It's probably a belt. It probably costs like $45." No, that's not what happened in Kelly's mind. What happened in my mind, it was this. "Oh my god, it's going to be thousands of dollars. Great. How am I gonna freaking get to work? Oh my god, I don't know. I don't know." Without me even knowing what was wrong with the car, right? So that's how the mind goes. It's never little, it's always the big thing. So the funny thing is that by the time the car broke down, to the time I took it to the auto place to get it checked out, my mind would be racing on worst case scenario. You're screwed. Where are you going to come up with this money? And all that. Then, when the bill came, when they came and said, hey, and one time it was a $15 belt and they're gonna charge me $30 labor. Now get it. This was many years ago, okay, like 10. So the total was $45. And then I felt relief and I was like, oh my God, okay, that's so doable. But the kicker is I spent days on this car thing of like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna come up with this? Da 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 da. Just to get it's $45 and go, oh, and then finally the mind calm. But I had 3 days where I was just in my head about this. And that is exhausting, right? Now, in my world, I do not look at money nowhere near the same. I do not look at my money of where's coming, how much is coming, where's the bills, how much is the bills, blah, 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 blah. I have came to realization that money is just a piece of paper and that money is just a energy like everything else, but it's neutral. You, the eye of the beholder of the money, is what makes that money what it truly stands for. So 10, 15, well, actually, I would say even longer than that. I made my money into this root of all evil, into this, Kelly, you will never make money where you could actually breathe. You will always live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And then when something goes bump, you have to really sit there and figure that out. That's what my mind was thinking about money. That was my energy with money. So back in that time, wouldn't you know it, my universe surrounded me with things that went wrong where I would have to stop and freak out about my money and what am I going to do? Over and over and over. Because our universes matches our belief system. So, if this resonates with you and you like, oh my God, this is what I do. Well, I can tell you, yes, you can change. We all change all the damn time. That's why we're here. We cannot stay stagnant. We cannot do the same thing over and over and over and over. We can't. We are constantly shifting and growing. So I can tell you that if that's how you look at money, that yes, there's a whole different way. And it starts with you. It starts with you, it ends with you. It's all about you, right? And if you don't believe me about the money, if you had like a $5 bill, $1 bill, $20 bill, if you go grab that and look at that, hold that, you will realize that money isn't saying anything bad about you. It is not. That money is just there, just present. But if you sit there and say, I can't afford you or I need more of you, any of that, then you are taking that energy and you're making it in to match your own energy. And whenever it's energy that you don't have enough of, then in the universe, it's going to have to match it. So your universe has to match, okay, here it is. Kelly has the belief that she's just not ever gonna make enough money. She's always gonna struggle. Even though that's not actually real either, because I never always struggle. We say that too. Oh, we always struggle. No, it's not. There was plenty of time that I never struggled. So, see, we lie to ourselves and we create these fantasies that are not legitly real stories. But I used to say that all the time. Oh, okay. We always are struggling. No, no, we're not. And the funny part is, most of the time, you're actually okay versus struggling mode. So that's the reality. No matter where you're at, you are more likely to be okay than you are to be struggling. Because that's not real. You can't struggle all the time. No, that's a head game that you're playing with yourself. And if you stop and see it, you will totally see that there's no way in heck that you could survive being on the same thing over, struggling every day. There's no way that you could survive. The human body wouldn't be able to handle all of this crap that we feed it when we're in struggle mode. So, again, listen to what you're really saying, and you will catch that there's no hell way that what we're saying is actually matching our reality. All right? So, if it's not matching your reality, you're just feeding yourself some crap. I call it shit flowers, and just stop eating the shit flour, right? So, how I shifted money is it was through a process. I actually stopped my money issues, I would say. Uh Probably just, and this is the funny thing, when you ask questions like that, we don't really fully know the answer of like when did you not have money issues? Well, I mean, I don't have it now, but in reality, as I look back, I realized I never really did. It was just a belief system. Um, yeah, so that's what I would have done. To get rid of that, I would have to look at that belief, which I did, and then I had to go, is this even Kelly's belief? Right? I made it my own belief, but was this actually Kelly's belief? And the reality is it wasn't actually my belief. Because right when I asked myself that question, is this my belief? The answer I got was no. Because when I said, hey, Kelly, what is your story with money? Well, it did not match someone who lack of money. It didn't match that. So right there, I was like, huh, that's weird. Okay. My story around money was it was always there when I needed it. So I'm like, okay, well, where did this come from? Right? Where did this belief around money come from? So I had to sit there and I was like, where did this belief come from? And I realized that this belief came from my mom. My mom struggled with money my whole entire life that I remember. Now, could it be the whole entire life? No. Again, see, that is not a real story. There was good times and there was times when money struggles, but it wasn't the whole entire time. See, it never is. So, what that created in my story was, oh man, you have to work a lot because my mom worked a lot and you still will struggle. You will still have times of struggle. And my mom would really freak out about what do I do, even though it never gave her the solution because it never does. We never actually figure it out. It just comes when it comes, and then there you go. It actually, you are given the answer. You don't actually ever figure it out. Um, but yeah, so I believe like, oh my God, there's the belief, right? Then I also had belief with money from friends, and sometimes even from the society. So then I sat there and I thought, well, I don't want this belief anymore. It's not even mine. Like, I don't want this. So then I would sit there and I would talk to my guides, right? Like I'm doing right now. And I would go, I don't want this money belief. It's not even mine. So then they said, okay, well then give it back, right? Send it back. So what I had to do, right? Because it wasn't so easy as I just send it back, here, mom, have your belief back. Here, friends, have your belief back. It wasn't that simple because this is something I struggled with most of my life. Now, when I say struggle, I mean when problems occur, it was around money. Okay. So most of my life, my struggles were around money. And that is a true statement for me to make. Um, so this was going to be a process. It had to be because it was so embedded in me, this belief that I'm not good enough to make money. I'm worthy to struggle when things come. I will never have enough money to just be able to breathe. All that jazz, right? So I had to walk through and I had to just keep reminding my mind of, hey, Kelly, your real story is that money is just energy, and I'm the one that gives it the yes or no. I'm the one that does that. And as I kept saying that, as my mind would keep going back to that old story, that old pattern about money, as I kept saying that, then it started going away. It was pretty easy. All I had to do was just have a conversation with myself, which I do all the time. We all do. But that's how I solved it. That's how I got that belief out of my body. I kept just re-ensuring that's not my belief. And then I would just pay attention of when that belief came into my mind, right? And it would only come into my mind when a problem occurred that I needed money for. So now, because I got rid of that belief and I created my own belief, which is money's just energy. And that's on everybody. Money's just energy. You can hold it and you can tell. Just energy. It doesn't talk bad about you. It doesn't talk good about you. It's just energy. Um, so with that, I started shifting. And when I started shifting into my own story, that money is everywhere and it comes to be very easy. And it comes when I need it, it will always be there. And in my actual real story, guys, every time I did go through a money problem, the money appeared in one way or another. I always got it. I was never homeless because that wasn't part of my story. It might be part of someone else's, but it wasn't part of mine. I was never cardless unless I chose that. So no matter what, it always worked out. And if you stop and think about that, you will realize that in your life, no matter what happens, it always works out for you. So that's that in a nutshell. But now I feel like I'm one of the richest people in the world. And the kicker is if you see my bank account, you wouldn't see that. You would be like, really? But here's the kicker. Why I feel like I'm the richest person in the world is because that if I choose to buy something, I'm gonna buy it. I do not do calculations. I don't do any of that. I just go in and I buy it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna buy that. And the money is always there. And money comes to in many different forms, like it always was supposed to, right? It's truly for anyone. Money is not this burden. Money is not this something only a select few get. No. When you break down your money story, when you break down the beliefs, and when you ask yourself what you truly believe in money, you're starting the process of letting that go. And then once you realize you don't have to figure out anything because you actually never figured out anything, and if you stop and think about that, you will realize, oh, you worried about things, but you never actually came up with the solution to things. The solution just came on its own. And that's the most zen there is, right? Is that if you start to actually believe that you do not have to figure this out, so the next time that something comes into your life that you're like, go, oh, I don't have to figure this out. Mm-mm. Nope. This is coming into my life so that I'm not bored 24/7, living the same life with no action. So that's why it's coming up. And you put that towards everything. That's why it comes up if your body gets ill or anything. That is why it's not, what you put in it. It's not a thing where you can torture yourself and be like, oh my God, you caused this. No. Remember, your book's already written. Therefore, you can't cause anything to happen that's not supposed to happen to you. Yeah. So, today the money topic was money, or the topic was money. The topic of today was money. I don't know what these my talks with my guides ever are about. I just normally come in here, have my water, maybe some breakfast, and I just sit and we just chat, right? So it's not something you have to do. If it's something you're called to do, I highly recommend totally follow that. Um, it will help you get more to this Zen. So, this Zen that people talk about, this inner peace, this happens when you just live in the moment to moment thing, not into your future, trying to figure something out. Or planning your life out. Don't plan your life out. Just live your life. The other big part is you have to love yourself, which means let yourself off the fucking hook on everything. Okay? This story of yours is already written. You are not a bad person. There's no such thing as a bad person. We are all here on this planet living out our roles, whatever that looks like. Only you know what you're supposed to be. So if you're a parent, that's a role. Your job, that's another role, right? We're living out roles like in a movie, right? Um, but the thing is, this feels real versus a movie. And it's supposed to feel real. Because if you realize that this is kind of just an experiment, and at the end of the day, once you die, the parts that are inside of you goes back home. If it didn't feel real, we wouldn't have the reaction that we have. We wouldn't get really scared when we're like, oh crap, what am I going to do here? We wouldn't have excitement like, oh my God, that was so amazing. I couldn't believe the day I had. We wouldn't have any of that if it didn't feel real. So it has to feel very real. But again, it is just a movie. You are the main character. I like calling it a book, a bio about you, and you are the main star. You do know everything, it's inside you, and you are the one that does all the actions in your story. You are the one that, as you get older, you're the one that starts to torture yourself over money, how much you make, your looks, fill in the blank. You are the one that actually talks about yourself, and in return, you talk about others. So if I go out somewhere and I know that someone is just hardcore talking about everybody else, you know what that tells me? And if this person would come for a session, that tells me how much this person is talking about their self all the time. Because the kicker is, when you're in a bad mood, wouldn't you know it? If you look around, tons of people are in a bad mood. But when you're in a good mood, you look around and tons of people are in a good mood. I mean, right there says it all. We only gonna see what we want to see. So, today's little message is you don't have to figure out anything. And make that an exercise when something goes up, a problem occurs. You don't have to love it. No, no, no. You're going to have to feel whatever you're supposed to feel. But in reality, all you have to do is like, I don't have to figure this out. And it's going to take time because it took me time. It wasn't like I tried that one time and I was like, oh, yeah. No. Some things it was easier to accept that I didn't have to figure it out, which I did not. Other times I had to just keep telling myself when my fears kept creeping up, right, in the mind, the fears about the situation. I had to keep just reminding, hey, you don't have to figure this out. And holy boy, this is stressing out the body and it's not necessary. So it's not a hard path and it's not an easy path. It just is what it is. We like to try to compare. And in reality, it doesn't matter. The comparison doesn't matter. You get to the end result, you know? So when everyone's like, hey, how to talk to my guides or hear my guides, this is a big one in the metaphysics world. Oh, you have to be on a very high vibration or good vibration to be able to hear your guides. That's not true at all, guys. Nope, that isn't. That is just busy work. Trust me. I did that for years. And I realized, you know what? When I'm in my mind and it's racing, I still hear my guides. They are still there. Because if we stop and think about that, right? Oh, to hear your guides, you have to be on a higher vibration, higher frequency, blah 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 blah. That doesn't make any sense because that sounds like our guides, our team that's here to help us, is actually judging us. Oh, they're not on good vibration. They're not going to hear this, so we're not even going to tell them. They need to do better, right? Your guides would never say that. No, they're here lovingly helping you through um, this human messy life because the soul knew you're gonna need a team to be able to make this all work. Um, and that's the funny part. Yeah, it's already no, like, oh, they're yeah, you're gonna be very messy, but it's all good. Um, but yeah, so you don't need high vibrations to talk to your guides. Right when your problem comes in, guys, your answer follows, by the way. Your solution to that problem comes in right after, like seconds after. It's the very first thing that comes to your mind. That is your solution. But the kicker is in that solution, if we have any fear, it might take a little bit longer to get to the solution. But you always get there. Back in the time when I was married, I had that solution come in to get a divorce. I remember having enough of this and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What am I supposed to do? What do I want to do? And it came in very clear, a divorce. And I went, "Whoa. Wow. I don't know about that one. I don't know." And then you go through the whole path. Can you do this on your own? Yada, yada, yada. And the funny thing about my marriage is I was the one that paid more of the bills. I was the one that made more money. So it was never 50-50, but I can't say never because never doesn't exist. But for the most part, I just remember paying a lot more for things. So isn't it funny? My very first thing is like, oh my God, can I do this on my own? Well, I mean, technically, I was almost doing it on my own. But the funny thing is, after a year, that was actually the solution. It was a divorce. I did get a divorce. Um, but again, sometimes when your solution comes in, if there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of beliefs around this that you have to kind of walk through, and you're going to walk through it. You don't have to stop and be like, okay, what's my belief system? Okay, let me write this down, blah, blah, blah. No, you're going to walk through it regardless. You don't need to write down anything. It will end when it's supposed to end. We do not have any control over when does this relationship end. When do I move? When do I quit my job? Blah, 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 blah. We don't have any control over that, by the way. So it actually should uh, make you more refreshed of like, oh, I have no control over that. You don't. It's just the illusion that you have control over it, but you don't. Yeah. So when a problem occurs, the solution follows it immediately. And then immediately after that is the mind. And just remember, right? If you go, hey, Kelly, okay, why does some things take longer than others? Right? That's a good question. Why does some things take us longer to get to the solution versus other things? Well, here's the kicker. If every problem that occurred in your life, you got the solution immediately and you took it, you totally did what the solution said, well, how long would you live? Because that means you're going, oh, problem, oh, solution, oh, over. Hey, oh, problem, oh, solution, oh, doing it, over. It would actually become one of your patterns, wouldn't it? It would become a routine. Oh, look, a problem occurred. Hey, there's my solution. Cool, I'm doing it. So that's why when our problems occur and the solution follows, which it always does, but that's why the solution we don't always take immediately. That's why. We want some of these solutions to take a little bit longer so that it expands our life here. So that we see a bigger picture than what we focus on. Because the kicker here is if you just focus on one thing, all you're going to see is that one thing. And if you're focusing on that one thing in like a not great feeling way, you're going to just have a lot of that. But if you step back, you will realize that you have love and you have fear always right there. They are always there. What you choose to focus on is what you will see the most of. But just remember, love and fear is in every situation. One's not higher than the other, they're perfectly balanced. It's the eye of the beholder that shifts one way to another. But in reality, neither one of those shifts. The fear doesn't shift and the love doesn't shift. They stay right there. But if you choose to look more at the fear, then it's going to feel like there's way more fear going on. If you choose to look at the love side of this problem, you're going to just see the love side. But sometimes you just need to sit back and see the whole picture, the love and the fear, because they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. All you have to do is just sit back and see the whole picture. And me personally in my life, that's what I do, is I see the whole picture of everything that comes. And it's such a beautiful picture. And there is pain there. There's love there. There's trauma. There's excitement, sadness, anger, all the emotions. But through every photo, every picture that I see the whole picture, it's beautiful. And it makes me every day want to keep going. So I'm going to wrap this up, guys. So that was talking with my guides. And like I said, it's something I do every day. It is a huge part of who I am. And they just told me that I need to come and record this. So hopefully, this made sense to you. If not, it's not for you. And it's as simple as that. You don't have to worry and try to figure out what I was saying or anything. Just know that you got whatever message that you're supposed to. And I will leave you with a little bit of advertisement for my company. BeMyself.org. That is my website. On the company, I do sessions. I do one-on-one. I do it over Zoom, so you don't have to be local. And if you are struggling and you're wanting help getting a pattern out of your body, or walking through a pattern with someone so that you can just release it and feel so much better, then I'm the person that can help you. It is one of my favorite things to do are sessions to help people right where they're at see the world exactly the way it is meant to be seen. So if that interests you, if there's any part of my story that I shared with you that you related to and you're like, oh my God, or if you got that feeling, oh, I cannot wait until I'm there, until I feel what she's feeling around money, where it's always going to just be there when I need it, then go to my website and book a session with me. I would be glad to assist you on your journey. Just remember, I always look at myself as a soul tool, right? It takes the person's whoever this book is about to do the action and to do the reviews, do the releasing. It takes you. I'm just a tool that comes and helps you right where you're at because that's what I'm supposed to do. All right, everyone. Take care of yourself. And I might be on tomorrow morning. We'll just see. Bye.